While most marketers focus on what the customer can gain, the most powerful sales are actually driven by what the customer might lose. What if the most effective sales trick isn't a pitch for pleasure, but the precise activation of the single greatest human fear, regret? Today, we're going to dissect this very idea, one of the most powerful psychological tools in modern sales, the engineered fear of missing out. We're going to explore the high-velocity triggers that can turn just a passive interest into immediate action. So this quote really captures the great paradox we're exploring today. It's a fundamental shift in thinking that completely flips traditional marketing on its head. Think about it. Think about the last time you rushed to buy something because the sale was about to end or the stock was low. Was it really the joy of getting the item, or was it the anxiety of missing out on that opportunity that truly pushed you over the edge? That feeling, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. And look, this isn't just some clever marketing phrase. It is backed by hard science. Now, what's really fascinating here is the sheer scale of the difference. Imagine you find a $20 bill on the street. That feels pretty good, right? A nice little bonus to your day? Let's call that feeling a motivational power of 1. Okay, now imagine you have a 20 in your wallet and you lose it. That frustration, the annoyance, replaying where you might have dropped it. That negative feeling is psychologically 2.5 times more powerful than the pleasure of finding it in the first place. This isn't a small margin. It is a massive psychological lever. We are fundamentally hardwired for loss aversion. So the fear of missing a deal is a far, far stronger driver of our behavior than the simple desire to get something new. And that brings us right to FOMO, but we need to redefine it for our purposes here. I want you to forget the social media hashtag for a minute. In this context, FOMO is a strategic, engineered environment. It's a system that's been meticulously designed with one single goal: to convert a user's passive, maybe later interest into an immediate, measurable, yes, I'm doing this now commitment. It's all about architecting a context where doing nothing feels way more painful than taking action. So, you have to ask, why did this powerful technique become so essential in the first place? Well, it wasn't created in a vacuum. It was actually forged in response to a very modern crisis, a problem that plagues almost every digital marketplace today: the paralysis problem. You see, the modern consumer lives in a state of just overwhelming choice. Think about the last time you tried to buy something as simple as a pair of headphones online. You were probably flooded with dozens, maybe hundreds of alternatives just a click away. This endless choice, it doesn't empower us, it paralyzes us. And at the same time, because these platforms are so saturated, competition is fiercer than ever. Getting a user's attention is hard enough, but getting their commitment, that's incredibly fragile. They can abandon a cart, close a tab, or get distracted in a split second. This crisis demanded a solution, a really precise, high-velocity trigger to cut through all that noise and force a decision. And the foundation for that solution came from the brilliant work of Dr. Robert Cialdini and his landmark scarcity principle. This is the cornerstone of everything. The principle itself is simple, but it is so profound. We perceive opportunities as being more valuable when their availability is limited. A one-of-a-kind painting, a limited edition sneaker, the last ticket to a show. Their value isn't just in the object, it's in its rarity. This principle gave marketers the perfect tool to cut through the paralysis. Instead of offering more choices, they could offer less time, less quantity, and by doing that, make the offer infinitely more compelling. And let's be crystal clear about the business objective here. The goal is to dramatically shorten what marketers call the time to conversion, or TTC. This is just the time it takes for a potential customer to go from, hey, I'm interested, to, okay, I've paid. The entire system we're talking about is designed to apply this targeted external pressure to take a sales cycle that might have taken days or weeks of deliberation and compress it into minutes. And in a world of fragile attention spans and endless distraction, that speed is everything. Okay, so we understand the why. Now let's move to the how. Let's pop the hood on this thing and look at the mechanics. Because this isn't just random pressure, it's a very carefully sequenced, phased psychological intervention. The core mechanism unfolds in this really precise 3-step sequence. First, you anchor the entire interaction with scarcity. This is always about quantity. Only 10 spots left, just 50 units in stock. This immediately frames the object as rare and valuable, tapping directly into that loss aversion bias we talked about. But scarcity by itself isn't quite enough. It can just lead to contemplation. So the second step is to light a fire with urgency. This is always about time. Offer ends in 24 hours. Your cart expires in 10 minutes. Urgency is the direct attack on that decision paralysis. It makes the option of thinking about it later pretty much impossible. And when you combine the two, a limited quantity available for a limited time, you create this incredibly potent psychological environment where immediate action feels like the only logical, rational choice. And this right here perfectly illustrates the mental shift that happens inside the customer's mind. Before you pull that trigger, the customer is in a logical, analytical state. They're comparing prices, weighing features, looking at alternatives. Their focus is on the cost of the product. But after the scarcity and urgency triggers are deployed, their focus shifts, and it shifts dramatically. They are no longer thinking about the cost of the product. They are fixated on the cost of inaction. The primary thought becomes, what am I going to lose if I don't act on this right now? The fear of future regret just completely overwhelms the rational analysis.
Now, for this to be truly effective, the threat of loss can't just be some vague claim. It has to feel real and imminent. So this system validates this potential loss through social proof. But it's more than that. It's proof of loss. When you see a little notification that says 5 spots were just filled or someone in London just bought this, it's not just showing you that the product is popular. It's showing you that the scarce resource is actively depleting right before your eyes. It proves that other people are acting, and if you wait, you will be the one left with nothing. It makes the loss feel tangible and immediate.
All right, let's go a layer deeper now into the psychology of this pressure. What exactly is happening in our brains when we're faced with a ticking clock? How do these deadlines so effectively leverage the fundamental aspects of our behavior? We've touched on this, but it is so important it bears repeating because it's the prime mover here, loss aversion. The simple act of framing an offer as scarce, something that can be lost, instantly increases its perceived value. Our brains are literally wired to protect what we could have. The deadline isn't just selling a product, it's selling the avoidance of future regret. You're not just buying a course, you're buying the peace of mind that comes from knowing you won't be kicking yourself tomorrow for letting the opportunity slip away. Now for the second, more subtle principle, the Zeigarnik Effect. This is such a fascinating quirk of human memory. We have a much better recall for tasks that are interrupted or left incomplete than for tasks that we've finished. Think about a cliffhanger at the end of a TV show episode. It just sticks in your mind, demanding resolution, right? It creates this mental tension, this cognitive itch that just needs to be scratched. So, a countdown timer is basically the ultimate commercial application of the Zeigarnik Effect. It is a visible, persistent, and incomplete task ticking away right there on the screen. It creates that exact same mental tension. The user has started a process, they're considering the purchase, and the timer is constantly reminding them that the task is unfinished. The only way to resolve this tension, to scratch that mental itch, is to complete the loop by making the purchase. It shifts the internal debate from, should I buy this, to the much more urgent, how do I make this timer stop so I can stop thinking about it? So, we've explored the why and the how. Now let's translate all this powerful theory into a clear, actionable framework. How can you really master these principles and apply them effectively? Well, it boils down to 3 core principles of application. If you can master these 3 steps, you can deploy this strategy effectively and ethically. First, you have to explicitly define the loss. Second, the scarcity must be verifiable to maintain trust. And third, and this is the one most people get wrong, you must properly sequence the urgency. Let's break each one down. Okay, principle 1, define the loss. This is all about framing. Your marketing copy, your ads, your emails, they must all frame inaction as the failure. Don't just talk about the features they will gain. You have to emphasize what they stand to lose forever. The 50% discount, the exclusive bonus content, the unique opportunity to get in early. Activating that loss aversion starts with the words you choose. You have to make the cost of waiting painfully clear. Now, principle 2, ensuring verifiable scarcity is straightforward, but it is non-negotiable. Be honest. If you say there are only 50 spots, there must only be 50 spots. Fake scarcity destroys trust and kills a business long-term. But let's focus on principle 3, because it's where the real mastery lies, sequencing the urgency. You don't hit a user with a countdown timer the second they land on your homepage. That's just premature pressure, and it feels aggressive and annoying. You wait for the moment of highest intent. As you can see here, a user might visit and browse. But when they show a strong signal of commitment, like adding an item to their cart or spending several minutes on a sales page, that is the peak moment of their interest. That's when you deploy the trigger. You're not creating pressure out of thin air. You're applying it at the precise moment it will help them overcome their own final hesitation. We're arriving now at the central unifying idea behind this entire strategy. The ultimate goal here is to crystallize one single concept in the mind of the customer, the cost of waiting. Ultimately, the highest form of motivation isn't desire, it's the fear of regret.
And this system is so effective because it recognizes that very often, the user's already looking for a reason to act. They're interested, but they're paralyzed. The deadline, the limited quantity, these aren't just pressure tactics, they are a gift. They provide an external, logical, justifiable reason for the customer to overcome their own inertia and finally make the commitment they were already leaning towards.
And this really just encapsulates the entire philosophy, doesn't it? The best marketing doesn't feel like you're being pushed. It feels like you're being pulled towards something valuable, something you just can't afford to miss. It works by making the perceived cost of waiting, the pain of that potential future regret, far greater than the cost of acting now. And so we'll end with the question that sits right at the heart of this entire framework. It's the question you have to answer before you write a single line of copy or design any campaign. Don't ask what your customer will gain by buying. Ask yourself this: what will your customer lose by waiting? The answer to that, well, that's the key to unlocking their motivation.